Okay, we're going to take a look at finding a percentage of a quantity. So there is 2 steps in this method I'm going to use. So the first thing is to take your percentage, step 1, and turn it into a fraction. So if we're looking at our first question here, we have 32%. So we're going to change that into a fraction and keep this simple. This is a percentage, so percentages are all out of 100. So it can simply be 32 over 100. My second step then says to divide by the bottom and times by the top. So I'm going to take my amount, 5,200. I'm going to divide by 100 to find out what 1% is. And then I'm going to multiply that by 32. So 5,200 divided by 100, which is simple. We just take our 2 zeros off, so that's 52. And then I'm going to multiply by the top. So I'm going to do 32 multiplied by 52, because 32 is the top of my fraction, to find out what 32% is. Now, you might need to work that out as a long multiplication, so 32 times by 52. It depends whether if this was part of a calculator assessment, obviously you could do that in the calculator, but if it's not, you're going to have to use this method to work it out. So 2 times by 2 is 4. 3 times by 3 is 6. And then when I go to multiply by tens, I'm going to put down my 0. 5 times by 2 is 10. Put up a 1 and down my 0. 5 threes is 15. Plus the 1 is 16. Add that all up. So we have 4, 6, 6 and 1. So my answer here is, not that much space, is 1,664. Now, if you think about that, 32% is a good bit under half. So yes, 1,664 is a good bit under half. So it seems to make sense as an answer. So you can always think about, does your answer make sense? So that is how you find a percentage. Change your percentage into a fraction, then divide by the bottom, which can always be 100. We're going to discuss sometimes it will be different. So divide by 100, and then that finds 1%. And then multiply by the top to find out whatever percentage it is you need. So in this case, we multiply by 32 because we want to find 32%. Now, in this next example, we're asked to find 40% of 25. So if we take our step 1, we would change that to a fraction of 40 over 100. But we could also simplify that down by dividing both those by 10 and say, right, well, that's actually 4/10. Now, I'm looking at £25 and I'm thinking, 25 divided by 10, well, that's not particularly easy. We could just move the decimal point, but then I'm going to have to do a decimal multiplied by 4. So I'm going to simplify this further by, after dividing by 10, I'm now going to divide by 2 and make that 2/5. And some people might already know that 40% is 2/5, and you'll automatically be able to write that down. So I'm now going to find 2/5 of £25, because that is the same as finding 40% of £25. So I'm going to take my £25 and follow my second step, which says divide by the bottom and times by the top. So I'm going to do £25, divide that by 5, which is £5. That's divide by the bottom. Then I'm going to times by the top, and 2 was at the top. So I'm going to do 5 times by 2, and my answer would be £10. So sometimes it's okay to just divide by 100 and times by the percentage, but it may be easier actually to use a simplified version of the fraction, especially if you're doing a non-calculator question. If you've no calculator allowed, it might be easier to simplify your fraction so you're dividing by a smaller number and multiplying by a smaller number. Okay, so I have 4 questions here. Again, I will work through the top 2 with you, and then you can pause the video and you can do the bottom 2 yourself. Or maybe at this stage you're ready to go ahead and try those. Remember your steps. Change your percentage into a fraction. That's step 1. And then step 2 is divide by the bottom and times by the top. So the first one here is 13% of 250 grams. So I'm going to change that into a fraction. So 13% would be 13 over 100. Can't really simplify that because it's 13 and it doesn't really divide by anything. So I'm going to just leave it as it is. I'm going to divide by the bottom. So 250 divided by 100. So that's going to involve a decimal. So that'll be 2.5. You divide by 100, move the decimal point back 2 spaces. Then I need to do 2.5 times by 13. Okay, well, if you want to do this using long multiplication, you would do 25 times 13. And just remember that because that wasn't actually 25, you need to put your decimal point in one space from the end in your answer. So 3 5s are 15, 1 and 5. 3 2s are 6, plus the 1 is 7. On my next line, put down my 0. 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 2 is 2, and then I'm going to add those up. So that's 5, 7 plus 5 is 12, and 2 plus 1 is 3. And decimal point one space from the end, so that'll be 32.5 grams. Okay, so we now are going to do the find 25% of 320. Now some people might know the 25% is just a quarter, so or you can write it as 25 over 100 and simplify that down. But most people will know that 25% is a quarter. So I'm going to find a quarter of 320. So 320 divided by 4. Well, I know that 32 divided by 4 is 8, so 320 divided by 4 would be 80. And I actually don't need times at the top because when you do 80 times by 1, you're still going to get 80. So my answer is 80 pounds. Okay, now would be a good time to pause and use the examples above to help you with the questions that are below. Find 27% of 40 pounds and find 30% of 80 centimetres. And then whenever you've tried them, start the video again and I'll work through them with you. Alright, so find 27% of 40. So 27%, 27 over 100. Can't really simplify that down, so I'm going to go ahead and work through that. So 40 divided by 100 would be 0.4. I'm going to times that by 27. So what I'm going to do is 27 times by 4, but I need to remember that's 0.4. So when I get my answer, I need to divide it by 10 or put the decimal point in one space from the end. So 4 times by 7 is 28. So put my 2 up and my 8 down. 4 times by 2 is 8, plus the 2 is 9, 10. So that is 108. Now, one decimal, I need to put one number after the decimal point in the question because it wasn't 4, it was actually 0.4. So this would be 10 pounds and 80. We need to put our 0 in because this is money. So that would be 10 pounds and 80 would be your answer for that. And remember, 27% is almost a quarter. So 40 divided by 4 would be a tenner. So yes, this is going to be in around 10 pounds. So that does make sense because it's just slightly over a quarter. Find 30% then of 80 centimetres. So 30% is 30 over 100. That's very easy to simplify. So I'm going to divide it by 10 and write down 3/10. And I'm going to divide by 10 and times by 3. So 80 divided by 10 is equal to 8. And then that's the divide by bottom part done. And then I need to multiply by top. So 8 times by 3. 3 8 is 24. And this was centimetres. So I need to put in my centimetres units. Okay, I have a couple of exam questions for you to try. So work out 28% of £85,000 and work out 45% of 800. So if you'd like to again pause the video and try those on your own, and then I will work through them once you have that done, and you can check if you've been doing them right. Okay, so the first one, work out 28% of £85,000. So step 1, remember, change your percentage to a fraction. So that's 28 over 100. I'm not going to simplify that down because I don't think that's going to be any benefit to me. So I'm going to take my 85,000. I'm going to divide it by 100. So that means taking off 2 noughts. That's 850. I now need to times that by 28. So I'm going to write times by 28 below. So 8 zeros is 0. 8 times 5 is 40. So 4 and 0. 8 eights are 64, plus that 4 is 68. Put down a 0 because I'm now multiplying by the tens. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 and 0. And 2 eights is 16, plus that 1 is 17. Add that all up. So we've got 0, 0, 8, 13. 6 and 7 is 13. And then add up those two ones. That's 2. And my answer would be £23,000 and 800. So 23,000. 123,000 and 800 pounds. Okay, on to our next one, 45% of 800. So 45 over 100 of 800. So I've changed my percentage into a fraction, that's step one. I could simplify this. I could divide both of those by 5, which would give me something over 20. I don't think I'm going to bother because 800 divides very easily by 100, so I think it would probably just be easier to leave it as it is. So 800 divide by the bottom, so divide by 100 is 8. And then I need to times that by 45. So 8 times by 45. 45 times by 8. So 5 eighths is 40, 40. 8 times by 4 is 32. Plus 4 would be 36. And that would, there's no units in this, so the answer would just be 360. And again, think about your answer. 45% is almost half. It's almost 50%, it's almost half. So the answer should be just under halfway. So 800, half of that would be 400. So this is just under that. So that makes total sense as an answer. So remember, you can always have a wee think about your answer. Does this make sense? Would this be accurate? If it's above the amount that you started off with, then clearly there's a mistake. So just think carefully about your answer and does this answer make sense?